Sawete, Mihinomen S, Stella, Ad Hoc S, Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon Podcast, episode 213 for November MMXXI. You're the only one. I do that every time, but you're the only one who appreciates it.
I do appreciate it.
Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comic Express, offering a discounted price for comics right to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. It's November. It's not Halloween. This guy isn't dressing up. He really is a priest. This is my former work husband, my ex-work husband of 8 years, taught
That's
Latin with
true.
me, and a priest, an Anglican priest. So
That's also true.
This will be my first priest and maybe my only one, but is my dear friend, Father Sean McDermott, to come on. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome.
Oh. This is probably one of the best and highest honors that I have ever received. The other one was talking at that the school that we used to teach at, the student retreat, which they asked me back to. It's like, oh man, highest honors. And now I get to come on this. And by the way, happy birthday month.
Thank you so much for remembering.
We share it. Yes.
We do share it. Yeah, we're just 7 days off, aren't we?
You didn't remember.
That's a lie.
Mine.
Aren't we 7 days off from each other?
Yep. You're 7 days older than I am.
Yeah. Can you believe it? Oh man, you are not far from my mind. I've played Kiss, Marry, Kill with other people many times, and you often are one of the rounds, and you've only been killed off once. Alana Speth is the only person who's killed you off.
Everyone else better than to marry a priest. I feel like the priest should always get killed off. Like that's our role.
That's interesting.
Should always get killed. I mean, yeah, go for it.
Sacrifice. Yeah.
Oh, then we get to be martyrs. It's even better in our little narcissistic complexes. This is great.
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome. So we have Latin in common. We have Roman history in common. And this is the main reason why I wanted you to come on here. But also I thought it'd be fun. You were a little bit nervous, but I said, Sam Heath was on here twice. He survived. So I feel like I've got good faith in you.
All right. I would love, though, for the people who actually listen to this to tell me if I'm better than Heath Barr.
Oh,
in the end.
Yes.
I don't want to just do it. I want to do it better.
Okay.
Better than him.
Okay. Well, I've set you up with an interesting story, and I'm also going to set you up with some controversial images and a topic at the beginning about a priest that Donovan and I encountered a long time ago.
Where is this? Where is it from?
It's from Batgirl. So the same comic that we're reading, but way back, issue 15 in 2000. And we're reading 30, 31, 32. So a year and a half ago or prior to this. So what is your comic history? Do you have any history with comics?
Look at this.
Or even, television? Well, I just want to set the groundwork.
I know, but you're just laughing at me before you even starting. It's like, oh, you're a comic virgin. Oh, no. No, I actually do have a comic background, which I don't think you know about. When I was in middle school, and then I think maybe ninth grade, I got obsessed with this comic called Groo, Groo.
Yes.
And it was like, I could never afford Asterix. And so it was like the cheap Asterix. And that's what I got into. I even went to comic book shops and I would buy them. So I have something. I have a groundwork, and I loved it. And I don't know what happened to them. I think my mom probably threw them away.
What if they were worth a great deal?
Does anyone read them anymore? Anyone?
Groo? I think Groo's still around.
Still going?
I think so.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's not in my wheelhouse, but I believe so.
Well, see, I have something there. That's good.
You got to step up on me. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You could have filled many coffers with that had you sold that collection.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that big, but yes, that is my only real comic. Oh, and I will say right now in my house, which is filled because I have 3 young boys and 1 little girl, filled with Tintins and Now we get asterisks from the library because they're still too expensive, but we get them from the library. And so that's my comic background now.
Okay. Any
DC,
films?
Marvel, not so much.
Yeah, yeah. Before we started recording Friends, he said, what do I need to know about Batgirl and Marvel? I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
That was just to get you
I
going.
know, I know.
Movies, I know. No.
Okay.
No.
I just want to set the stage. So
Okay.
basically, listeners, what I'm doing to him is what Professor Allen did to me way back when he brought me on to just look at one random issue from a series I've never read. So that's what we're doing here. Before we even get into that, though, let us do our Find Your Joy segment, which is also known as Shag's Mac and Cheese of Comfort and Joy. So we've had some tough times, of course, but we tried to rise above it. So what sorts of things have you and maybe you and your family been doing that have kept you joyful in these tough times?
I would say for me, in the past year, it's been bike riding. A lot of bike riding. And one of my best bike rides, I was going through town and I I was riding down and I saw this little girl running up the sidewalk. It's like, that's not a little girl, that's Stella Bowman, so, and I got to run into Stella, which was incredible. So my project this summer, well, and then in previous a little bit time, was to ride every single street in Charlottesville. Oh, wow. And so I got printed out a map, and every morning I would go out. I had to do it 5:30 to 6:30, only 1 hour rides. And you have to start at my house and leave and go ride as much as you can and then come back. And so it was a lot of, riding the same roads and back and forth. But I finished it just a few weeks ago. And so my map now is all black, all the roads now I got to mark out, and I've ridden every single road in Charlottesville.
So it was a real blessing then that we ran into each other, because any other day you could have been
I would have been
else.
Across town. Totally. Yeah. Right.
Did you ever get lost in this journey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Even and our town's not that big, right? Yeah. Like it's not, but it does have a lot of twisty roads. And then I even found a road that you can't drive on, and that it's not even paved. It's steps down into a grass yard.
Oh, interesting.
And it's an official road on our map.
Official road.
It is.
So what did you do?
Official.
You picked up your bike.
I was on a bike, so I just rode it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I stepped down the stairs, and then I rode the grass and kept going. It was great.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's
cool
super exciting. That's like a really inventive thing that I've not heard of anyone doing, but definitely a way to get to know your city better.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was great.
Very cool. So I went to New York City the end of October and hung out with Claire.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah. So she is a grad student now at Columbia.
Yeah, right.
So we hung out. We reminisced, of course, about you. And we went to see the musical Six, which is about Henry VIII's 6 wives.
Oh, cool.
And it's like in the format of this really explosive concert, high energy the entire time. It was really great.
Whoa, I got to see that.
Yeah. Or just listen to the soundtrack, which is easy to find on Spotify, and you'll get a good sense of what that is. I love that the fall temperatures are finally fall-like. And
except
chilly.
Today.
Except for today. Yeah, this week
75
has been weird. Yeah, that's been bizarre. NCAA women's soccer tournament is starting up.
Maybe first round, you got UVA won, right?
First round's on Friday.
Oh, okay. That was the other. That was the last game.
So here's hoping. And then, of course, as you said, it's our B-Day month. So it's always.
I know, it's the best.
I know. Yeah, I do a nice little countdown until we get to it.
Do your listeners send you gifts?
I've gotten gifts from people, but no.
Okay, good. Because I will tell you, having worked with Stella for a long time, she was always really jealous that all the students gave me gifts because I would announce, I would basically make this mandatory in my classes. So Stella loves gifts. Send them to her. Send her a gift. She loves them. November 21st.
There used to be a pretty bad competition, wasn't there, when the holidays came around? Like who got the most gifts from students?
I usually lost that one, actually. But
did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably
I don't think parents liked me. I think students did. But
that's interesting, though.
They could care less about Latin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, yes. It's a hate-love relationship. Okay. So before we get into our story, if listeners remember way back when, there was an an issue of Barbara Gordon. I don't even know which picture I should use. There was an issue of, I said Barbara Gordon, of Cassandra Cain Batgirl, where this man develops a ray gun of some sort, and I don't know if this is the best one either. I'll just use the priest one, I guess. This man uses a ray gun and is experimenting on different people to see how long it would take them to kill, basically. So he puts them in some sort of scenario. You can't tell what the scenario is. You just have the outcome of someone or multiple people are dead. And he experimented with a soldier, a priest, and Cassandra. And each of them had varying degrees. So I remember when I was doing this with Donovan, I actually wondered about the priest. The priest took an hour. That's how long the scenario round went in his head before he actually killed. And he killed multiple people. I think the soldier was maybe like 15 minutes, and then Cassandra was like a matter of seconds, which was the whole point of the story. But
No, the soldier was an hour.
oh, how long was the priest then?
No, the soldier was hours. The
Oh,
priest was 1 hour, and then
oh,
Cassandra was a heartbeat.
a heartbeat. Okay, thank you. You have that
Great
detail.
line.
Oh, that's
Great line.
actually, that is even worse, because I would imagine the soldier would be a less amount of time, just because they're not killing machines, but they're just used to those sorts of scenarios.
I think that was the point. Yeah, I think it was throwing the priest on the bus a little bit there, but at the same time, we
So
think about death a lot.
yeah,
So
I
I
guess
don't
that's
know.
true. So I don't even know what sorts of questions, because I don't want to put you on the spot, but I did want to, like, what are your thoughts on this? Would there
Oh
be
yeah.
any realistic scenarios that you could see this happening? Is an hour realistic? I don't know. So I guess I am putting you on the spot. And then, of course, I know
Uh
you have some things to say about his vestments as well,
oh
which I have
man,
no.
this
Yeah.
is just so good. I would love to find these vestments. I'll tell you that. They are really styling. And of course, there are awful, evil priests out there in the world. So no, of course you can find a priest who would kill within an hour. You would kill in a minute. I think the more important thing, though, is actually how they write the guy. Is it a doctor who's sending this laser beam?
He's some sort of mad scientist.
Yeah. So this mad scientist, when he does it, I don't have it up, but if I can remember it correctly,
Mm.
what's going on is that he has this laser which affects the frontal cortex, as he says, and then Batgirl like whops in the head and says, "Speak English," and then he says, "Oh, it determines your will to murder." And what he's interested in then is how they qualify it. How do they make it right in their mind? Well, the only problem with that within like traditional Catholic theology is that if someone actually did have the power, that's it. Thank you,
You're
Stella.
welcome.
Uh, yeah, he says it makes you kill, makes you decide to kill. Okay, that means that he has taken over your will. And at that point, justification of it is then not really responsible. The person's not responsible
Mm.
if their will has already been taken over. And then if their will is taken over, they're not responsible for it. It's ridiculous. And so in some sense, like, yeah, of course people would kill if you take over their will and it makes you decide to kill. It's a little nonsensical though at that point, because within Catholic theology, the moral component of the murder has been taken away. There's no culpability anymore if this mad scientist has made you decide to kill.
Hmm.
And so in some ways then, okay, I think the other point was then he said, like, the priest used religion as a means of murder.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, people use all sorts of things for murder. I mean, they, like you hear these stories about people who have road rage and kill because someone stopped at a light too soon. And of course, he can use religion to kill. People have done it throughout all of history. It's awful, but it happens. And so this priest can do it. Yeah. But if the priest actually decided to do that and had a will and intentionally murdered for religion, that would be considered a mortal sin. That's awful. And he wouldn't be, he would be damned for that in a sense. He could still be forgiven, but he would be judged for that sin. That's awful. But in this sense, the guy's taking over his mind. So he's not really culpable in that sense.
Yeah.
Can we talk about his vestments though?
Yes.
They're awesome. It's like a bathrobe with crosses on it and it looks satiny, and then has like these cool other like elbow patches things. And then he's wearing a pectoral cross, which, by the way, Stella, only bishops wear pectoral crosses, or they're only allowed to. So
like
now you have
Chad?
like, yeah, exactly. So now you have like this bishop guy, maybe is a canon. Maybe that's like a special canon, a Roman Catholic canon, which is a special title that you can get. But it is bizarre. I love his revolver. And I love that he still blesses their soul when he, shoots this massive gun in their face, but not realistic. Sorry.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you think this just goes to show that religion overall is not portrayed well in other forms of media? Do you think that's just like, oh, it's just another thing?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's just like a really easy trope to play with, and it's fun to play with.
Yeah.
I would just wish that people would have more fun with it, which would mean like do it right. There's lots of things you should make fun of in religion, and do it. And we shouldn't be like scared of that sort of thing. That's kind of what is like the nice challenge.
Yeah.
But do it well. Come on. Don't.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But if anyone can find that vestment, I would love to wear that. That would be fun.
Oh my gosh. Probably a Halloween costume.
Yeah, exactly. That's what someone said. I was buying something at the store a couple of days ago, and the checkout person was like, well, I really like your costume.
Oh no.
Okay, thanks.
Oh geez. Wait,
I don't
you
even
didn't
think she
correct
knew.
them.
No, I mean, I don't even think she knew what it was.
Oh, interesting.
She was more like saying like, I like your style. Like, and I didn't really get that. It's like, it's not I don't know.
Were you actually out and about before Halloween?
No, it wasn't even on Halloween. It was just a random day. It was recently. Yeah. Well, I guess Halloween's been recent too, but
interesting. Wow.
Strange things.
Yeah.
As a priest.
That's not my thinking. Whenever I see people in the really long garbs, that always remind me of the Matrix. I think
cassocks. Yeah.
Yeah. I see them out and about sometimes in the hospital, but I've yet to go up to anyone and say, do you know Father Sean?
You might see me in my cassock. That would be, yeah. I'm sorry I didn't wear it tonight.
That's okay. The color, I think, makes it. For sure.
Well, you see it. Yeah, it's still in the cassock, but yeah.
I think, yeah.
Anyways.
So I hope everyone believes that you're an actual priest on this show. I told someone I was having a priest on, and he's like, why are you doing that? And I said, oh, you'll find out.
Yeah, so I can't give absolutions through the screen. That would be
crazy.
Nothing else. That would be crazy, right?
Could you though?
No.
During COVID? Not even during COVID. So there weren't extreme situations.
You can't do it virtually. No, the extreme situation would be the extreme grace of God, because God can act extraordinarily, but he's not going to take the ordinary act, which is being in the same physical place as a priest to receive absolution, and then change it into like virtual stuff, or like send the precious blood of Christ through the computer. That's ridiculous.
Oh gosh.
Oh, but there were some weird things going on during COVID tide. I mean, it was, yeah.
I bet there was, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. And then just for Sean, I wore a shirt that he had created, which has a goat on it.
Yes. Yes. Like de pluribus codices. Does that one glow in the dark like our donut one?
This one did not glow in the dark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. We made that donut one that glowed in the dark.
Yes.
That was awesome.
I wear that sometimes in the hospital. And so when I go into patients' rooms and it's like really dark, I wonder what they think of, like, there's this orb floating towards me. Hopefully it's not like someone with dementia that's like really concerned, but
yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. I think that's it for our warm up. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's hit this.
Okay. So we're doing an arc of Batgirl. It's going to be 30, 31, and 32. And I think everyone will quickly realize why Sean is on. I've already said, because there's lots of Roman stuff. And we're going to pull it apart. We're going to be those people where we kind of look at the history as much as we can. Look at the history.
We're going to nerd out.
Yeah. And see whether Chuck Dixon did an admirable job or not. Okay, so I'm going to give the synopses for all three of them, and then we'll dive into the different issues. So, Batgirl number 30, subtitle Legion of the Lost, September 2002 cover date. Writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Damian Scott, inker Klaus Janson, colorist Jason Wright, and digital Chameleon. 3 days ago in Ivy Town, billionaire financier Bartram Fletcher was killed by 3 arrows. Oracle and Batgirl watch a video of the murder, and Batgirl identifies the unknown killer as an assassin, though she is not sure whether it was a murder or a message. She suits up to investigate as a second man wearing a ring with the insignia of the lost Ninth Legion, there you go, of Rome, is killed by 3 arrows. She comes across Connor Hawke, who she believes is the killer because he has a bow. He tries to convince her that he is on the trail of the murder cult too, but she fights him and only stops when Eddie Fires punches her. Batgirl pretends to be unconscious as the men talk, their private conversation proving the truth of Connor's claims, and she says she will help them. A member of the Ninth Legion reports to Agrippina, unknown whether it's elder or younger, that he was followed by 2 men. She declares that they will kill them. This goes to Batgirl 31, the Cataphracts, which we'll talk about as well. October 2002 cover date, writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Damian Scott, inker Wade Von Grawbadger, and then colorist Jason Wright and digital Chameleon. Using a pizza van and delivery man disguise, members of the Ninth Legion go around Gotham City killing off members. Jack Drake, however, is not at home, and they move on to the next target while Batgirl takes Connor Hawke and Eddie Fires to her Batcave. She contacts Batman, who intimidates Eddie into giving up his guns, which Batgirl throws out. He identifies the rings each victim was wearing as a symbol of the Ninth Legion, a social club dating back to the time of the Caesars. Batman faxes them a list of the 5 members who live in Gotham, one of whom is Bruce Wayne. Another is Jack Drake, who is attending a ceremony in his honor with his wife Dana, his son Tim, and Tim's girlfriend Stephanie. Eddie pretends to be an employee to bring Jack backstage, but really he steals his clothes and goes on stage pretending to be him, which is when the Ninth Legion attacks. Rather than killing Eddie, the Legion kidnaps Drake and drives off with him. Jack is found in his underwear in a supply closet, and Batgirl and Green Arrow are joined on the case by Robin and Spoiler. And then the climax is Batgirl 32, Morituri, November 2002 cover date.
Yeah, deponent infinitive. It's great.
Just throwing it out there. Writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Damian Scott, inker Wade Von Grawbadger, colors Jason Wright, digital Chameleon. Batgirl, Connor Hawke, Robin, and Spoiler track the Ninth Legion down to Jupiter Plaza. Tim calls his father. Jack tells him that a supposed Claudian descendant has been sending threats to the Ninth Legion, demanding to know where the Eagle of the Ninth is. Agrippina has Eddie Fires, whom she believes is Jack Drake, tied down on a cross, and she threatens to crucify him unless he tells her where the eagle is. Eddie refuses, and they lift the cross. Agrippina believes that with the magical powers of the eagle, she can restore the Roman Empire. That's what I'm trying to do all the time.
Yeah.
Green, just without the crucifixion. Green Arrow shoots Eddie free, and a fight breaks out between the 4 superheroes and Agrippina's Ninth Legion. Agrippina's electric weapons starts a fire in the building, and everyone runs to safety except her. Batgirl wants to save Agrippina, who happens to be playing a liar at the time, but Robin stops her. Batgirl reports to Batman that she did not see Agrippina die and cannot be sure that she did. She asks him whether the eagle is real, and he confirms that it is, and that Jack Drake has it in a closet at his house.
In a golf club set.
I know. Oh, dear. Okay. Whew. So we shall start off. I like to go through the covers and show the covers and talk about that a bit so we can see what your art background is like.
My art background? Oh gosh.
I'm just kidding. But
yeah. Go on.
Go on. I have to guess which one. Oh, we'll see if it's this one. Nope. Mm-hmm.
Now, while you're looking for it.
Yep.
Chuck
Dixon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, why could he be including Roman history on this? Like, what's Chuck's background? Yeah. Like, what do you know about Chuck that would allow this?
It's funny how you say that.
You've surely met him, right?
Oh, I have met him and I've interviewed him a couple of times as well. I don't think he has a classics background. So I
Okay.
think this is just a fun idea that he's coming up with. It's an offshoot story before we get back into heavier tales with Batgirl. I don't, yeah. So I think it's just, he thought of something fun that he wanted to do. Now, he does not, he's a pretty prolific Batman writer. At this time, he's writing Nightwing and Robin. His time on Birds of Prey just ended. So him being on Batgirl is a little strange. We just got off of a long run with the original writer. So there are also some weird stuff that, well, there's one scene in particular that doesn't make sense given what the previous writer did with Batgirl here. But
Oh,
otherwise,
interesting.
he doesn't really have the expertise, I would say, so I don't know him personally, but I could ask him like, "Hey, do you know Roman history?" But this is potentially just what you could get from Googling, but we'll
Oh
see if
yeah, but I love it. Like I love that he's
yeah,
bringing this in. I'm just kind of wondering his background, or
like
if
where'd
he
it come from? Yeah.
or he just read as a child the novel where this did come from, really. But
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. Now there is a Batman villain named I think it's Maximilian Zeus, and he's all about the pantheon of the gods and everything. So it could be at least maybe stemming from that there's already a gateway into using Roman history, culture, and mythology, and so he decided to pull from it.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but
Well, and it's so similar to the mythology. Like this is modern mythology and modern stories and narrative. It goes right along with it. So
absolutely,
it's really fun to see them actually kind of mixing it up.
for sure. We could actually go issue by issue if you wanted to, because there are some things I want to talk about in each anyways. So we'll start with 30. We can start with the cover of 30 and then go into it because I know that the preface has all this too, the prologue. Thoughts on the cover? Were you interested in the story besides me telling you that you had to read it by looking at this cover?
I loved it as soon as I saw it. Yeah, for sure. Like that's what made me intrigued, and it really was different. I can't see it on my screen. Are you sharing it?
I am sharing it. Thank you for letting me know that you can't see it.
It says
People.
I'm viewing your screen, and I don't see a comic.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's try again.
But if it comes up, we see like a really stylized ancient. There it is. I see something, but it's not the.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Really?
oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the prologue.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, but you were talking about this cover. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This cover kind of confused me
Okay.
because I was like, which one's Batgirl? I'm kidding. Um, but this one looked really terrifying. And I was really still trying to understand what was Roman about it. And
Sure.
so I was like looking at her clothes and what was going on with that little flower that she's wearing, like kind of almost like a tutu. But
That's her. That is her utility belt. Is that what you're talking about?
it
You're about to be
is.
canceled. You're the
I
first
know.
canceled priest ever.
I'm sure that's not true.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not true either.
But yeah, this intrigued me. The next page is really what got me though.
Okay. When you open it up. Yeah. And I would just say, like, this is a dynamic cover. It's fun. You can't really tell what's going on. You wouldn't know that it's Roman history from the top. I will say, coloring wise, the same grievance I had in the previous, I think, 2 episodes ago is that Connor Hawk should be darker skinned because he's part Native American. But I don't know, recently they've been consistent about making him really Caucasian looking. So that's my only gripe about this. But okay, yes, this is what
It's
you're talking
it's
about.
the Italian fascist racist stuff coming through the
That might be
the
true.
the Aryan purity
Ah, geez.
coming through. Okay, yeah. This is what really got me. I love this. I love how these guys are all massive, and in every army you have tiny guys who are short like me who can still fight in an army, but no, these guys are just huge.
They are
I
pretty
love it.
big. Which I
Um,
guess makes it all the more like, how do they lose that eagle if they all looked like this?
because the Britons were even larger.
It's very true, as we know from good old Caesar. The history here, do you want to talk about the Ninth Legion?
Yeah, sure. So the Ninth Legion is a real mystery, and it still is. Like it really is something that historians disagree about, and we don't know. There is a legion within the Roman army. They're all numbered, and there's that goes up into the 20s. And the Ninth Legion was one of the more famous ones, and ones that, especially in this time in the first century uh, BC and AD, came to real prominence. It was made up mostly or historically of Spanish mercenary soldiers, and they were actually, I don't know, do you know this, Stella? They were one of the legions that Julius Caesar took over in Gaul.
Mm,
It was one
yeah.
of his original 3 or 4 that he took at when he first took legions in Gaul. They were his legion. So these were real seasoned soldiers who had been, the legion itself had a lot of prominence for quite a while. In the story that we're kind of getting up to is the mystery of the Ninth Legion is that they disappear. And we have small bits of references to them until around 120 AD.
Hmm.
And then we have nothing. And then in the early 200s, when some of the historians went through like a more systematic review of Roman armies, and they gave the present day legions, the Ninth Legion is left out. Literally goes 8, 10, 11. They're not there anymore. They've been totally wiped out. And there are some strange references within Roman literature, within Roman literature. One of them, and this is what this is referring to, is that we know they're sent to Brittany, to Britannia, and we know that during the conquest of Britannia, the Britons had some very successful fights against the Romans. Especially a little bit later in like the 120s, 130s. We know like when Hadrian went to Rome or went to Britain, there was some serious fighting in which the Romans had large losses, but we actually don't know. No one recorded whether that was the Ninth Legion that was wiped out or not. And so historians have gone back and forth. There's people who say, oh, no, they were sent, they did fine, and they were sent to like, Judea during the Jewish revolt in the 130s, and they got wiped out. And others say, no, they got sent to Parthia, Persia, and they were in the Parthian War with Marcus Aurelius, and they got wiped out there. And then others say, no, they really did die in Britain. It seems to be the most reasonable, just because there is no evidence of them elsewhere. And it seems reasonable that they probably were taken over in Britain. They were destroyed completely. And they were never, because of that loss, they were never restored. They don't just like replenish the Ninth Legion.
Yeah. And there's
That's
like
all,
a shame factor there too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially,
Huge.
losing the standard of the eagle at that time would have been like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. So there's probably another reason, like maybe they thought, I don't know,
Right.
like it would be bad juju to start something up again for within a legion that had such a disaster happen to it.
And the Romans would totally think like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were very, very superstitious. And within like 100 years before, we have the same thing happening this is when the Romans go into Germany, and the Battle of Teutoburg. This
Mm-hmm.
is like in like 9 AD, I think. And they have 3 legions lost, completely wiped out. And that's when they send this general whose name becomes Germanicus, and he goes back to Germany, destroys the Germans, and he comes back with 2 of the 3 eagles. And that guy became one of the greatest Roman generals ever. And because of that, so it was a huge deal to them. And it already did happen. So we know that they really cared about this. And the eagle was the sign of Roman power. And
Mm-hmm.
so you had to go back and get it. If you lost it, shame, shame, shame.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll always remember that one section of um, Caesar's on the Gallic War and how there's a soldier that's about to be killed, and before he dies, he launches the eagle back within the camp that they just left because, yeah, their life is not worth as much as that eagle or the standard that the legion's carrying.
Right. And it's weird for us in our modern days because we don't consider signs, well, we don't think we consider signs to be like really important or
Mhm.
that they actually have true meaning. And obviously, okay, I am a priest. I'm not going to turn on a sermon here, but this is like, we often talk about this, that signs really do have meaning to them. I mean, look, we live in Charlottesville. Look how much crazy stuff has happened over the statues.
Mhm.
Why? Because they really do mean something. People argue about what they mean, but everyone recognizes that they really mean something, and they can represent a great evil. They can represent a great good, but not just represent, but actually be it. And so here, this is what the eagle is like. I'm bringing that up because that's what these signs really mean. And these eagles really mean. It's like, that's Rome itself. It's the sign of Rome. And if you lose it, you're forsaking your homeland, you're forsaking your people. And I would actually think that the Romans would consider you should die.
Mm. Yeah.
If you lose it, yeah.
So a question I had, I guess for the end, once we get to know Agrippina and everything that she's doing, was just how extreme and fanatical she is. Just from what you've been saying, does it make sense then that with how much the standard and the eagle mean to people, that this situation could in fact arise and it's a believable situation for the comic book world?
The situation in the sense that someone would want to think it has like a special power and wanted
Yeah,
to
and we'll
restore it.
revive. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I believe it with even now. Like, I love this. Like, why not believe that? We don't have to be in a comic book world. This is reality.
Uh,
Yeah, let's go. I think it makes total sense. The only thing I'm confused by is that their other eagles were lost. It's not like, and so that's where I want to make that clear. Like, this is not the only eagle that was lost. And so this is what leads me. Well, we'll get to this later. See, I'm skipping around. I'm skipping it. I get
oh,
really
that's
excited
okay.
about this.
Yeah.
It leads me to think of, it points to her character a little bit more, of which Agrippina she is.
Okay. Yeah.
And it could mean, so here's the other thing. Germanicus, that guy I talked about who restored 2 of the 3 eagles,
Yep.
that's Agrippina's dad. Did you know that?
The elder or the younger?
The younger.
The younger. Okay. And I know the younger is the mother of Nero.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. And she's
Yeah.
the wife of Claudius,
Right.
the cripple.
Yeah. So it does make sense if it probably was the younger. I think timeline wise too, even though the elder was also technically within the Julio Claudians, but yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the younger as well. But I didn't
There's
know
some
that
other
about her
reasons too,
parentage.
but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Overall, with this prologue, would you say that it's pretty accurate? I kind of squinched my eyes about the archers from Syria. I wondered if they would actually have been a part of the Ninth Legion or not.
There's a lot of little things in there like that. There were definitely archers from Syria within Roman armies. Were they the one in the Ninth Legion being sent all the way up here?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
what,
sure.
yeah.
Because Rome had a lot of issues going on, and they had to defend many different borders at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a group from Syria, they're probably going to keep them in the Judea region because there's huge revolts going on at that point.
I thought it was a bit strange to pull them like such a distance because you would almost want to keep them close to the province. So I'm glad we're on the same page there.
I agree.
Okay. Let's see. I mean, any thoughts as I'm kind of like flipping through if you've taken any notes? I have some like very particular character thoughts, but it's only going to make sense from coming from me because I've been with these characters. So it's more like so
I
if
want to hear
you
those.
as a
Yeah.
first time reader see anything that pops out to you. But this is something. So Cassandra is illiterate. She couldn't speak either. This is her history. The way she spoke is through body language. And so she could read someone and their fight, which is why she was such a lethal fighter. And then this guy came up and kind of arranged her brain patterns, and so she can speak a little bit now. But yeah, so it's interesting that she says, can't read. Best way to learn about crimes is by watching. And I I just found this very interesting that Barbara is the one apologizing, like, oh, I'm sorry I brought that back up. But it's really, I don't know. Cassandra already knows she can't read. It's kind of up to her now to be a go-getter and start learning. And Barbara has tried to help her out a bit with that, but she's not been on board. So that was a comment I had there. A trope that happens a great deal with comics. Oh, there's the ring. I thought that was a pretty cool thing. By the way, before I even get to that, would you be a member of the social club if it actually existed?
No, I hate secret societies.
Okay. I just wondered. The Ninth Legion. Let's see here. Okay, a trope, for whatever reason, of hero comics is that when two meet for the first time, inevitably there's a fight. And I found it really interesting that Cassandra is fighting Connor Hawk here and takes him, which it really does seem shady. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. There are arrows with the murder. So yes, if you put two and two together, it makes sense. But for someone who can read body language and the fact that he's talking to her and saying, listen, 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 we're on the right page or the same side, I'm shocked that she would continue to fight him. I think this is not necessarily knowing, and this is poor Chuck, as you call him. His name is Chuck, but it's just weird. You just like name him all the time.
I don't think it's poor Chuck. I think I'm really impressed by Chuck.
No,
actually.
You didn't say poor
Seriously.
Chuck, but because he's dropping in midway, he might not fully know the Cassandra Cain character, but I think she would know right away that Connor wasn't lying and his body language would talk. So this is an unnecessary fight. It's just a trope, I think, in comics. And it's also shocking, knowing Cassandra as I do, that she could get, well, I think he wouldn't be able to do this to her, to capture her two arms. I don't know what's going on there. And then the fact that she got snuck up on, I think, is also unrealistic. But we saw later on that she was actually feigning her concussion. So I can go along with it.
I think that's like, it like pulls it together in a sense, like it saves it. But I think you're right. It doesn't really, it doesn't carry through on her character the rest of even just in these 3 episodes.
Yeah. How would you, I mean, this is a tough question, but just with these 3 issues, how would you describe Cassandra, or what kind of did you pull out from her character? Because this is hard. Like, I do feel bad throwing you in, like, just midway.
No, I had to look up. I did not. I was like tracking. It was going, and then when I read that, wait, she can't read. I was like, what in the world? So I had to look up things then. And it was hard to get in at first, but then once I read just a kind of brief overview of Cassandra's life, then I was like, okay, got it. And then it all made sense. But yeah, it was a little bit hard to jump in on these 3.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, but it's been fun. So
totally like this guy, the cop guy.
Oh yeah, Fire's here. Yep. And they just pal around. He's kind of like an unlikable guy, or someone that you like to maybe not like. But he seems to just be really capable and kind of a super spy at times too.
I like Eddie.
Yeah. He's got some good humor as we see him in the next issues. And then we get to finally see Agrippina, for random a butt shot there, but fermented honey. So we're leaning into it here.
Wait, and then on top of the Gotham skyscraper is an ancient Roman villa scene.
Yeah. Isn't it exciting? With some columns, Doric columns, I guess. Did I have anything else? Yeah. Oh yes, suspected poisoner. Too soon to tell. Do you want to talk about which one we think, or wait until the end? But here we have her cataphracts. These are the guys we'll talk about.
Yeah, these guys are like Roman samurais is what they reminded me of. Yeah, we can wait. We can wait
Okay.
and tell really who we actually think Agrippina might be.
Yeah. I was a little turned off, just like I thought they would be like super, super, super devoted. And so they'd also be intelligent. But then when she is saying,
Right.
then they will join the rest on Charon's barge and make the journey to the valley, they're like, say what? So it's like, oh man, it kind of the veil almost dropped a bit, like, okay, well, she's 100% in this, but these are just like hired minions that she's gotten, and they're not necessarily all on board. But well, I guess they have to be somewhat on board since they are putting their lives on the line for this revivified, resurrected Rome. But okay,
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about the coloring in these episodes?
sure.
Because it seems to me like she changes in 30.
Oh, interesting.
She's, her eyes,
Yep.
her the way they do her face. She's. It, I got the impression that she's like she is a shade, a spirit
Mm,
of an ancient Roman woman who, maybe part of the power of the eagle is to actually like come back and be fully corporeal or something. But then in the other ones, in 31 and 32, she becomes more feminine. She takes on, rather than like a ghostly look, but more of like a human kind of work. Feminine. Yes, you look at that cover. That cover
oh
is
yeah.
terrifying. And then later on, she gets these. Yeah, look at those eyes.
Yeah.
Like those eyes are way
Oh
more.
yeah.
They're not like empty anymore. So it seems to me like it kind of changed a little bit
Yeah.
in how they're trying to present her, and maybe they didn't really know. Is this, I don't know, is her coloring weird? Is
Yeah, well,
that
even the art
normal?
style, I guess I would say, since yeah, her eyes aren't just all blacked out, it's more, yeah, human-like. And then yeah, you're absolutely right about she was completely white and silver, and now we've got some purple and royal blue going on. The penciler himself is the same. The inkers changed, but the colorists were the same. So I think that's just a discrepancy and maybe like a more detail, like maybe there was a shift from 30 to 31 and how Dixon was describing her or how Damian Scott decided to portray her. So I think that's just a really interesting shift that that decided to go to.
Yeah, it was noticeable.
Yeah, especially compared to
Look at
this right here. Yeah,
that.
it really is. Thoughts on this cover?
This is amazing.
Got her thumbs down, like Commodus in the Gladiator film.
Yeah, right. Very good.
Yeah, so now we actually get a sense, I think, of what the story is actually about. And it might still be difficult, I think, for people who are not versed in Roman history to get a sense that there's some Roman history going on in here. But for you and I, like, yeah, I get that whole thing. And then again, pretty dynamic with the fight scene going on below and then up top, the judge.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. Okay. Pizza delivery. Let's see what comments I have on this one. Oh, so this is the cataphract. Okay. So we can, I don't know if these people. So I did have to research them. These were actually people that I hadn't heard of before. Now I will easily and readily admit that the Roman history part of, or I should say Roman military part of Roman history is probably like my weakest section, which is another
We were
reason I had
both
you
that
on.
way.
Oh, I
No,
thought
we
you
were
were
both
better than
that.
I. Oh,
Oh
okay.
no, I always thought you were better than me.
Oh, geez. Only because of Caesar, like all of the stuff I needed to know, I knew. But besides that, I was just, yeah, not that big on it. But so a cataphract, which in its spelling had a PH. So it's interesting that the actual subtitle had an F in it. But it is what it is. Okay, so it was a form of armored heavy cavalrymen that originated in Persia and then was fielded in ancient warfare throughout Eurasia and northern Africa. It actually derives from Greek, which is, let's see here, cataphractus or cataphractus, literally meaning armored or completely enclosed. So let's see here. What can I even say? So, heavily armored horsemen, the rider and the mount are completely covered in scale armor. So already I have a bit of an issue because these are all infantrymen that we've seen in this story, not actually cavalrymen. They typically use or wield a contos or a lance as their primary weapon. We've seen
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
what I was about to say, is
archers.
that, cavalry it didn't necessarily mean you're on a horse,
Yeah.
if you were cavalry or if you were an archer. And so it's kind of confusing.
I think we're a bit out of time with this, if only because it seems like this was late 3rd and 4th century for the Roman army. And this we're talking about what, 1st and 2nd, if we're
Yeah,
Agrippina.
except the fact that we're trying to bring back the Roman
We
Empire.
are.
And so maybe she's able to use the best of any age.
That's true.
The best of any age, though, I still don't. I think this is like, I like how the stylized guys in 30 were
Yeah.
in the prologue. This is to me a little bit overdone, and he can't type on that phone. I mean, look at that. He's got like lobster claws. You can't shoot an arrow with lobster claws.
Oh,
But did you
geez.
notice what their pizza company's name was?
Nero's, wasn't it?
Big Nero's.
Big Nero's.
I think go back to the intro one. You can see the van. Big Nero's.
Nero's. Interesting.
Look at that.
Yeah. So lots of Nero here, which I think
That's
again
a clue.
points. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah, typically the Roman cavalry wasn't really heavily armed or heavily armored, I should say. They were mostly lightly armored horsemen, weren't they? With spears and swords.
Yeah, exactly. And also when you talk about like people like the cataphracts who were of Syrian origin, that didn't mean that the Romans then copied them. It meant usually that they would pay them. So it doesn't really even make them Roman per se. It just means that the Romans would incorporate them, maybe not their technology or style, but just literally incorporate the people.
Yeah.
There were changes, of course, but it didn't always happen that the Romans themselves were taking on those changes.
And then final question on them, of course, would be the coloring. Do you think it would be this bold?
I would hope so.
Red and yellow.
I really hope they're that bold walking the ancient battlefield with that stuff on. Love it.
Apparently they were really decisive. Like they would lead charges to break through the opposing heavy cavalry and infantry.
It's amazing.
So they would it'd be kind of like Red Rover, and they're just ramming them. Oh man, crazy.
It's like Demolition Derby and why you can't use Cadillacs in Demolition Derbies anymore. They're too strong.
Oh, I guess, yeah, they are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're getting more details in this lady. As you said, it's a good point to point that out. Oh, we have the statue. Did you want to talk about the statue here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better answer.
That's okay. I did ask Sean. I said, Sean, who is this? I mean, she's really worshipful of him. I feel like it could be any of the Julio Claudians. My knee jerk would be like, oh, well, Caesar, but Caesar didn't really look like that. I don't know. And could it be a god? But yeah, any thoughts?
A couple of thoughts on, I've never seen a toga go that short for a man.
Short in the front and then long in the back.
And long in the back. What is going on? Roman sculptures with the arms, usually arms had to be supported because they broke off. And so that stance that he's in is really unfamiliar for like a Roman sculpture. I could be corrected. You could probably find one against that. And some sculptors wanted to be bold. Sculptors wanted to be bold, so they didn't arm out. But it's a weird stance as well. Given all of that, I did look at some of the people who I was suspecting it could be. So I was thinking maybe Germanicus, but definitely not Germanicus. The only similarity I could find was Emperor Claudius. There was similarity in the hair. Hairstyles were a really big deal and distinctive features in ancient Rome. So a lot of times you can date it or identify a sculpture by their hair, especially by facial hair, if there is any. And so the curly, shaggy hair of this guy could seem a little bit closer to Claudius than to others.
Okay.
That's my best shot I got, but the toga just really bugs me.
It is very bizarre. They wouldn't have portrayed Claudius either with his clubfoot, would they have? They would have kind of given him an ideal figure.
That's a great question. Yeah, I think they did. And the one I was looking at definitely didn't have a clubfoot. It doesn't mean that there's not one out there. And I would love to be corrected if anyone knows, but I don't think so.
I think everyone can take our word for these things. We could lie up a storm.
Does
and
anyone
like,
care?
Well, they've got degrees in classics. So.
Hardly.
Yeah. And then it does say the 9th. So I think that could lend it, to Germanicus or Claudius, probably. It's interesting though. Why not name it? I guess that would be my other question. Like, what is Chuck losing? Or really, what does he hope to gain by having it a mystery?
Okay, so this is another one point. Like, why then does she come to this guy and talk to them if we can but find the eagle of the 9th, right? So she's connected with him, and there is some power that she's going to get that is in honor of him. And so who is she honoring? It was my question. Like, who could this be that is Claudian, that is a strong leader and an emperor? So yeah, it's interesting. Her dad, I think, again, is a really good guess. Here, it doesn't look like him, but it is a good guess. And he was the one who had restored 2 eagle standards already. And so there's like his search is kind of matched by her search now. But also it kind of makes sense to be Claudius, except the fact that Agrippina, his wife, poisoned him.
Yeah. There wasn't.
Probably.
Yeah, and the fact that, I serve you. So it's someone who.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
maybe
that
not
one. Yeah,
necessarily
right.
willingly, but it does seem like there is admiration there. So I would say that she never had admiration for Claudius.
Really?
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I think there was. I think Claudius himself was one of the few people in her circles who matched her intellect and her desire of politics and knowing how to rule through not open power, but through real, what word am I looking through? Real kind of like sinister behind the scenes action.
Okay.
Claudius is good at that. He was very smart. And, he had lived through the Caligula slaughter because of how he played the fool.
That is true. Yeah. Yep.
And
Brutus.
so I don't think, she probably didn't like, his clubfoot. But I think she could have admired him.
Okay. So a mutual respect, potentially.
Potentially.
Okay. So we don't have answers on that, folks, because that statue is never named, but there are some good guesses on our sides.
And Chuck, if you're listening, if you could give us that, I would be happy.
Oh, I should tweet him out. Tweet him out and ask.
Give us a name.
Yeah, give us a name. Tell me who it is. Okay. I'm going to flip through again. Stop me if you have any notes on any of these. I just have 2, maybe 3 character moments. So this is where Cass is leading Eddie and Connor to her lair. I was a bit turned off by her quickly removing her mask, and only because if you peek behind the curtain, she got in trouble about being very careless with her identity by Batman as well as Barbara, and she had to go through this whole thing, and so she's going to protect it and guard it better, and then she kind of throws it off like here. So I'm not sure if I agree with that. But this is, fun, a fun scene just with Batman being there, Eddie giving Batman attitude, and then Eddie being sad that his guns have to be thrown away.
Literally thrown away.
Literally thrown away down on, yep. And he just, what did he do? He just reblued them. Which I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
Doesn't that mean to be like put back in active force, like as a policeman?
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I just didn't look that up. Well, the art has changed for whatever reason. I
Yeah,
wonder why. I'm
yeah,
even looking at Eddie now
right.
compared to what he was before.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. I'm not sure what's happening. Shipper, as you know, I do like couples. Sean knows firsthand that I like to couple, all of my students and everything. And we used to do the same thing, though. We used to watch people as they blossomed into relationships. But having Tim and Steph on an actual date was lovely. And then what do you think about the switcheroo with this whole thing where, let's see, Jack is taken, and then all of a sudden some random man comes out who's not Jack? Did
I
you have
had to read
any?
it. I had to read
Okay.
it twice because I'm a
Okay.
slow reader
No,
and
that's
kind
okay.
of,
I also had to until I got to the end. I was like, okay, that's what happened.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I mean, it does say that's not dad. So he was like trying to lead us by holding our hands on this, but it
Yeah.
kind of showed me that maybe the writing could have been better right there. Or
Yeah.
at least the sequencing of how it's being portrayed in the frames. Um, because he did have to lead you through the dialogue, like by holding your hand basically. But
Hmm.
it was fun. It was a surprise, and I guess it is supposed to be a surprise. So maybe it was successful, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to read it a couple times too. I think this bottom panel is what threw me off just because you have Jack, you have the silhouette of a man, and then you have the arrow. And so I automatically thought, uh-oh, that's, the cataphracts or whoever.
But that's Robin, right?
It was not Robin, Connor Hawk.
Connor Hawk. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. Because
Gosh.
Robin is still in the audience. So that's the only
Oh,
reason
right.
why. Yeah.
Right.
Um yeah, so anyways, I agree with you that I had to figure out who was this, and then I couldn't tell from the art that that was actually Eddie. So that's what also threw me. And then of course the cataphracts are trying to stop him. So I think that's, yeah, there's Robin and Steph, and then of course they're going to change pretty quickly. Art wise internally, what do you think about how they choreograph fights? I should say he, Damien Scott, how he choreographs fights and shows off Cass.
This part I really liked. I thought this was really cool with all the red arrows against the black, and um, the way he's like crossing over the frames here. There's just so much motion in it, and it's just really cool how he's characterizing her by like this shadow almost, but then the red's going in and out, and I really like this one. Pretty cool.
And a lot of it is, which happens frequently throughout this book, a lot of it is without words. Of course, we have that wow there, but don't have much going on just because she's a silent assassin. Okay. Oh, anything else on 31?
I think that's it for me.
Okay. That's all I had as well. And then of course you have, so this is, now we've got a big superhero team up.
Yeah, is this normal? This seemed a little bit over the top, given how cool I thought Batgirl was. Like,
Yeah.
what these people?
Now we've got multiple people. Yeah, I would say it's abnormal for a Batgirl book to have more than one person you're teaming up with. Do you think I'll throw it back to you. Do you think the threat level warrants having four people, four and a half if we count Eddie?
Yeah, I mean the cataphracts are pretty scary, and it seems like they've been effective. Right? There's only one person left on their hit list. Well, no, 4 or 5, I guess, and they've been going across the country. So it does seem like the threat level is up there. So I just don't know, not knowing the universe here, the world that this isn't. I don't know who those people are. And so that's where, for me,
Oh yeah.
it was like, well, why does she really need that girl? Yeah. So who is that girl in the back with the O?
Yeah, so that was the blonde girl that Tim was with.
Oh,
So
that's
her
what,
name is
huh?
Spoiler. She will become a future. She's Robin for like 2 days and gets fired, and then she becomes Batgirl at one point. But her father, like the main thing is her father was a villain and like not the best of villains, but she ended up being this spoiler to really get him arrested and take him down.
Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
Cassandra's parents were also assassin villains, right?
Yeah. Yep. So they've both had some, some poor upbringings. Tim is, I suppose, the only one that's not maladjusted. Connor,
Well,
I wouldn't be able to tell you too
I'm
much
sure
about him,
there's,
but
yeah.
besides being, yeah,
Could you please translate the dialogue here into Latin?
no. We kicked your butt. I don't even know. I don't think I've ever done kick. Ludius
Uh,
Maximus. What do you think kick is?
I can look it up,
Are you
you
looking
know.
at William Whitaker's words?
But you know, the Wenny Weedy Wiki, this
Of
is
course.
the
Yep.
famous We Came, We Saw, We Conquered, Julius Caesar, and now it is you know, in the DC world. Yeah.
And I'm seeing as he's looking up on William Whitaker's what kicked is.
Yeah. So like Veni Vidi Calcatrini Asinum.
Asini tui. Asinos tuos.
I guess it's plural though, too,
Yeah.
right?
Wow, there you go.
No, that's singular. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Asinum tuum.
I was excited that in 30, they got all the plurals correct, even a plural neuter, which is pretty exciting, which is an A.
And this is pre Google Translate. So he might have had to actually do some work
Don't
on his
use
own.
Google Translate for Latin.
No, I'm just saying though, I know. No, I tell everyone that because it's awful. But I'm just saying he wouldn't, because I think when I encounter it in the like in comics and in video games, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys just used Google Translate. But this would have been 2002.
Right.
That's before Google Translate. So he would have had to do some homework on his own. So I applaud Chuck.
This is where I'm saying Chuck's got this from somewhere. And
Yeah.
I would like to know, like maybe he had a friend who was, you know, into this, and it's cool.
He's got a nerdy friend. I'll be sure afterwards I'll tweet him out and see what he has to say. I also want to point attention to there's a We Remember 9/11 bubble.
Yep.
So I didn't notice that on my first read through. So final cover doesn't have much to do with Roman history except for the We Came, We Saw, We Kicked Your Butt, but that wouldn't make sense out of context unless you had read the rest of the story. And just, some sinister looks. And really, I think the big buy-in here is that you got this big team up of all the teens, not all the teens, but a good portion of the teens in the DC universe. Okie dokie. Let's see here. Oh, yes, and the about to die.
I love it.
You are about to die. Salute you. Okay. This is, I mean, so everything's coming to its head. Oh, man. Crazy,
yeah, this is terrifying.
Okay, yes. The crucifixion. Pretty accurate?
For what?
I don't know. Well, accurate. That he would be tied up. That is, everyone think, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but the vast majority of people think that nails were commonplace, but it really was more often than not ropes.
Yeah, simply just because nails don't work as well.
Yeah. Yep. And then she does talk about the real reason they die, doesn't she? About the suffocation. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, she does. She gets this. This is this is where you get a really good insight into Roman torture. They were some of the best in the world creating this, and crucifixion is one of the most sinister, where, it's really painful and very embarrassing. But you actually die drowning, suffocating under your own fluid as your lungs slowly fill up bit by bit.
Wow, you said that's so sinister like.
Pretty awful. Well, we talk about crucifixion quite a bit, you know. I mean, so
it is true. Okay. Just trucking on through.
I would also, though, comment that it would only fill up, though, your lungs when you're actually stood up and crucified, not when
Right.
you're having a nice relaxing spa
Like this. Yeah.
under infrared lights.
Yeah.
The trident.
I know. Very interesting. Yeah, she's got some bruisers that don't necessarily follow the theme, it seems like. Though they'd still have masks on.
Yeah, we're getting, yeah.
Okay. This was an interesting scene. This was what I really disagreed with. Oh, this particular, was it this one? She's okay. Yeah, where they're talking about Cass once Cass is away from them, which is rude. But Connor says she's really different. Steph says she's weird. And Tim says, spoiler, in a nice way. And Tim kind of defends her and says she has a lot of issues. And Steph says, yeah, like eBay has a lot of auctions. So what draws me away from that is because she has had really strong issues, Cassandra has, with both Tim and, by issues, I mean stories, with Tim and Steph separately. And they've reached like really deep understanding of one another. So
Hmm.
this is, I think, just another flaw that, Chuck has jumped in here after the character has been on her own path in a particular way. But this is something that I don't think they would have been saying because they have all become friends. Connor's the only one that's the outsider that hasn't really dealt with Cassandra that much. But this was just a really weird scene for me. Okay. So we're getting, oh, now he's upright.
Now he is.
Yep.
But so once you're upright, I mean, typically it takes a couple days to die, though, from crucifixion.
Did
And
she
she's
say
kind of
like it'll be
speeding up the
hours?
process.
Oh, she's speeding up the process. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It seems like that, right? Because now
Yeah.
he's basically it's getting difficult to breathe. No, well, no, it wouldn't get difficult to breathe for quite a while.
Yeah. So story wise, we're trying to, speed up
Yeah,
the pace. He does call her Caligulette, which I thought was fun. He called her Xena earlier on.
yeah. And so Caligula is her brother, and he became emperor and is famous for many things, but
Yes.
mostly for debauchery and pointless murders and just awful stuff. Yeah, Agrippina is his little sister, if it's the one that we think it is.
Indeed. And we get a brief history lesson again, just to bring Tim up to speed.
Yeah, which is interesting now, drawing wise, because now the Eagle standard has changed from what it was in the preface of 30,
Mm-hmm.
where it had a Luna signate on it and some other things. So, I mean, we have to trust that the credits are right, but it does seem that there is some significant drawing changes during the
Yeah.
time.
Some inconsistencies there. It's also interesting that the statement, this woman believes there's a power in the eagle that is her birthright. Just the fact that culturally, the woman would very much not have such a birthright, but she's really breaking out of that and feels like she deserves it given who the parentage is, and then her husband as well.
And it makes me point to Agrippina the younger, who once Claudius, her husband, dies / is poisoned by her, she and her son Nero is too young to actually take on full responsibilities as emperor. She is the first true Roman empress. She really is. She governs and takes on certain authorities that no woman had ever taken on.
#feminism. Uh, because
Yeah,
she's a poisoner, or at least once. Do you think that's why her skin is so pale?
it could be, or that I think she is the ancient woman herself.
Okay. Oh yeah, as you said, kind of seeking, kind of like her spirit, and she is seeking bodily form.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah. I noticed that her clothing changed colors again. Now it's blue, light blue, rather than the blue purple So
And the white, yeah, and the white
yeah.
purple early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there's any significance there. So she ends up dying in real, historically, she dies because her son Nero kills her
Mm-hmm.
by trying to drown her. And when that doesn't work, he just sends soldiers to cut off her head.
Mommy
So
dearest. Yeah.
I know. And now we have the toga on the sculpture draping over the other shoulder.
It's changed.
Yeah, it has.
Can't tell the
And
word bubbles in front. Can't tell about the length of the toga.
well, but the arms are totally different too now.
Yeah.
So maybe she has just lots of these, which is pretty
Perhaps.
typical.
Yeah.
Um,
She's laying down like a good Roman does while eating.
except, do you notice the mistake?
Um, is she on her wrong arm?
Yes, she is. She's eating with her left hand, which was literally the word for left in Latin is sinister.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the left hand was considered not to be correct, but also to be unclean because when you use the bathroom, you would wipe yourself with your left hand. And so culturally, nothing was eaten, greeted, or done officially with your left hand. And so here she is eating with her left hand. And
that's a no.
but when you're a soul that's been wandering around for 2,000 years, you forget this stuff.
That's
So
true.
let's
She's
give her some
befuddled.
breaks.
Absolutely. Okay. So now we're just moving into the climax, big fight.
Yeah. I love the arrows. They do them so well. I really like that.
We're just flipping through for listeners here. And then luckily, because I did have a question, that this is a Batgirl comic, but we got this full-blown team up. But it is nice that in the climactic fight that Cassandra is the one fighting Agrippina. I think that is only right since it is her book.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I love Agrippina's words for her. I think maybe it's here or a little bit farther down or the next page where she then calls her, like she actually kind of respects her, right? Because she punches her and she says, kill the gladiatrix. Yeah. And that's a really great term of respect there. Like she notices that she's the best fighter out there.
Yep. Absolutely. I did note that as a literature nerd, the story almost grows with the different people joining, like a Tricolon Crescens, because you've got Connor, and then there's Connor and Eddie, and then it's Connor and Robin and Spoiler. So
love
it's
it.
Getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yep. So things are on fire for whatever reason. Agrippina pulls out a lyre. And then she really does look otherworldly at this bottom panel on page 19, just the flames all around her, and she's just plucking away. Do you think she survived?
I think Cassandra leaves that option there. And so I am going to follow Batgirl's senses over any rationality that I might have.
I do like how, that's definitely about a Cassandra thing, that she never wants anyone to die, no matter who they are. So the fact that she is willing to rush into these engulfing flames and try to save Agrippina, that's spot on character-wise.
And what do you think is the significance of her dying or, disappearing here by fire?
Well, yeah, especially with the lyre, just because I think it is a myth that's not necessarily true, but that Nero played his fiddle while Rome burned in order to make room for his golden house. So I feel like it's another nod potentially to Nero. And then
right. And Nero's her son, right?
Right.
Nero's her son.
Yep.
And then go back a couple. She has this great line when she starts the fight with Batgirl. She says, I won't be defeated by kids. Is that what she says? Yes, I will not be brought low by children, which is really ironic if it's Agrippina the younger. And this is where I think this is why it's kind of fun to think about her as this, is that Agrippina the Younger was killed by her son. And so here she is like fighting again and be like, no, I will not be brought low by children. And then Batgirl defeats her, wants to save her, unlike her own son. And then she dies in the flames like Nero, or Nero didn't die, but in that way.
Yeah.
So in a sense, like still dying in the hands of Nero, her son, by these kids.
Yep. Oh, irony. And I
Oh
do wonder
man.
about the cataphracts. Well, they're stripping, which is interesting. They're actually pulling off their gear, potentially to make a quicker escape. But you kind of wonder, like, oh man, is their job over now? Do they have to get back to the real world? Or are they going to be minions for the rest of their life and try to find another villain that they can find job with? I don't know.
Yeah, I was really hoping that they were also ancient people brought back to life, but it seems that's not a tenuous or plausible.
Just with, I mean, some people I think really play into it. Like this one guy is saying, what about exalted Agrippina? And then the other's like, ooh, she's on her own, pal. But the one in the first issue, not knowing about the
right. Not knowing about the
the underworld,
sticks, and
basically.
come on, everyone knows that, right?
Yep. And then, so we didn't see her die. That's normally, in TV and things like that, it's normally a nod that this person might be alive. I have no idea if she pops up again, but I did research her and it seems like these are her only appearances. So I think she might be gone, or just waiting for another time that she can resurrect Rome. And then, we find out that of all people, there we go. Jack is the one who had the staff, and Tim is looking at it as well. And then it's true. You actually talked about this a lot in your classes. Tim says to his father, you said it was a myth. And then Jack says myths have to be based on something, Tim. And that's something that I've talked about as well. But people would always, or students would always come in and be like, Mr. McDermott said that those gods probably really existed. And I'm like, okay, kids. But I mean, it is true that because tales have transcended time and peoples, like there had to have been someone that it's actually based off of, or else like it's just this incredible thing that is extraordinarily I don't know how to best phrase it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's always the tendency in modernity to look back and be like, well, they weren't as smart as we were, or just like, you see what they believed. But if you take a look at our own culture, we have some really weird stories that we tell, and some really weird ideas for sure. And so looking back, like I think like, no, these people were much more like you than you could ever believe. And if they're in the modern world, they might, still fight like Agrippina and, do all that sort of stuff. But back then, there was, in all myths and all stories, there's an attempt to understand the world around them. And they do that through stories, through narratives. But a lot of those narratives have a truth to them. They all have some sort of truth. They all participate in truth. But even the events in them are, some of them, quite true. So, and I also, because I'm a sucker for good stories, it's like, why not believe that they were real? It just seems so much more fun. And then the world kind of opens up a little bit more. And that's the other thing, is we kind of shut everything down and flatten everything out. And I think it's a lot more fun to view the world in a more dynamic way, where there's interacting forces and there is direction, but there's also freedom, and there's also chance, but there's also some sort of fate, not in the sense of determinism, but there's like a drawing towards an inevitable end. That's what makes these stories really fun.
Yeah.
So why not believe that they're true? And I do believe in all the Greek gods and goddesses. It's just that, they're not the only ones out there, and they were created. So take that.
Take
Zeus.
that. Roman mythology. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't love, I think, Latin as much as I do if it didn't have this world attached to it. Like, that's definitely one of the draws to it. It's just like this puzzle and this time capsule that brings all of this unique stuff to it. And yeah, it really has opened my eyes too and
Yeah.
gotten me to ask questions too.
And that none of it is totally separated either. That this is what mythology gets right, is that the created physical world is one and the same together with the created spiritual world, right? It's not like there's the material world and then there's the spiritual kind of out there, separate, and sometimes it comes down. No, God created physical and spiritual together at the same time. So all creation is this interaction of spiritual and physical, and they're not separated, and they're also not against each other, which the Romans did. Some of the Roman philosophers thought, but not all of them thought that. I don't even know. So I won't go there.
Yeah, for
But
a podcast at another time.
yeah, or a different podcast. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh
I
man.
love this stuff.
So I guess two final questions then. Roman history wise, how well do you think this story succeeded?
You know, I I really like that Chuck went for this. And so there were little things missing. I think what happened is that there's a lot of discontinuity between Chuck and the artist, Darian. See
Damien?
the Damien?
Yep.
Sorry. I think if Chuck and Damien kind of talked a little bit more together, I think it would have been like an 8 out of 10. But
Okay.
because there's those other things that weren't supported by some of the pictures, I think I would move it down to a 6.5.
Oh wow. Okay.
Maybe a
And
7.
that's
Is
for
that
Roman
that's harsh,
history?
I guess. Yeah, that's for the Roman history
Okay.
and the how they're depicted.
Okay. Then the more difficult question, since I just kind of threw you in there, but what are your thoughts on the story as a whole?
No,
Just
the
with all the
story I
characters,
love.
yeah, and the
That's what
pacing and all of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I love. I love
Okay.
that they're bringing in like this random legion that even historians have no idea about, and that really did go missing. And I love that sense of bringing back a real true Roman idea of signs and symbols and power. I love it. I think that works great. I don't know if it freaked out other Batgirl readers who actually read Batgirl way more than I do, and
Oh,
I should read it more. But I love that part.
okay. So overall, what would you give this out of 10 cataphracts?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have no experience in this. So,
It's just whatever you think. If
well,
this were a project that a seventh grader gave you, that he taught
oh,
at seventh
crap.
graders.
This is a 10 out of 10. Like, that's amazing. It's amazing. And I think
Oh,
maybe that's the way to look at it, right? Is like, did this work as an inventive kind of entering into or bringing two worlds together? I think it really worked. I think it was fun. And in what you were saying, and what surprised me is how many other characters had to come to assist Batgirl and how it brought together this her whole world basically,
yeah,
because Batman gets involved too. And so, yeah, I'm gonna rate this pretty high. I'm gonna
pretty
go to a
high.
9.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
can't
he
give it out of
does.
10 because I don't, I
Okay.
don't have anything else to
Because
compare
it's
it to.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that Batman, you said he gets involved, but he doesn't get so involved that he actually appears to help fight it. So they
Does
still
he do that in other ones?
um it depends on the people. So, like, for instance, her father, David Kane, whenever he's involved, Batman's definitely there because he doesn't really like Cassandra to interact with her father. But otherwise, I mean, she has her own agency, so he lets her go. So I think similar to that. Yeah, I think because you had all those characters, it really shows the threat level is high. I like the thought of resurrecting Rome. I think about it all the time, what it would be like. We practically had a Julius Caesar in office for 4 years. Come on. Um, let's be honest.
But remember, let's be honest, that if you enter into ancient Rome, this is what we always played in our classes, right? It's
Sure.
like you have a 2% chance to be the Roman that you actually would like to be.
That is
And
also
then
true.
everyone else is living quite miserable lives.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, the 1% are living it up and everyone else is a slave.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Literally, the majority of people in this country. Do you have international listeners?
Potentially, yeah, I'm sure.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
and to those international listeners out there, even you, if you're listening to this podcast, you live a materially comfortable life on par with, if not better, probably better than any of the ancient Romans.
Oh,
Even Agrippina and Caligula and Claudius, better than them.
better than that.
You don't agree?
What are your
Materially comfortable?
materially comfortable? But international, like every nation though?
If you're listening to this podcast, yeah.
Oh, okay. Meaning you have the means to listen to it.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you already have
And
power,
yeah.
right? You already know, you can read, you can,
Yeah.
interact in this way. Oh yeah. You live
And a secondary
far,
language.
far
Yeah.
away and above than probably even Roman emperors.
Yeah. And definitely then they're the province that they are currently living in, probably.
Ooh, yeah.
At that time,
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah. What else was I going to say about this book? Oh yeah, just a couple grievances in terms of characterization of Cassandra, like I said, with the friends and everything, but it was fun to see them together. And yeah, having Roman history appear in a comic book that I'm reading, can't go wrong with that. I think I only have a couple like, oh, maybe that's not necessarily so accurate, but I think we can give it some grace for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad Chuck went for it.
Chuck went for it. Yeah, I will tweet out to him. And if he responds, I'll be sure to let you know what he says. And then when I record the second half, I can also tell the peoples. Well, do you do a blog like Father Jerkins, aka Perkins, does? I was just this is usually the time where I'm like, how can we support you besides going to your church?
You don't need to support me.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Father Jerkins, that's our project. The
Oh, okay.
earthaltar.org is our project for the millions of Anglo-Catholics out there who read our stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. By
What was it
millions,
again?
earthaltar.org.
Okay. Because I spoke over you, so I didn't want to. Okay. It has been a pleasure. You came
Thank you.
on.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure, but you're
Yeah, it was a lot of
welcome.
fun. Yes. And I'll let you know if you get more viewership than than Eve. Says apparently it's a competition. The Anglican versus the Presbyterian.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh man. Well,
There you
we'll
go.
have to catch up and not just by running into each other randomly on Rugby Road.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Stella.
My
It's an
pleasure.
honor.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.